welcome to this edition of Let's Talk Networking. I'm Terilee Harrison, and as you know, I'm passionate about helping coaches, consultants, and solopreneurs be able to network in the most dynamic and lucrative way. I have always a special guest, but I have to tell you all a secret. I've never met this guest until now. We have chatted. We were introduced by a fellow networking person that we had in common. And but so I told him, I said, I've never met someone I liked that I haven't met yet. So Robbie, I'm hoping I'm going to like you 10 times more by the time we're done. What do you think?
I hope so. I hope I don't ruin it by overexposure. Hi, thanks for having me here, Terilee.
Oh, it's a pleasure to have you here. Let me introduce my audience more formally to you. So everybody meet Robbie Samuels. He's coming to us from the greater Philadelphia area, and he's a business growth strategist and coach. He is a virtual event design consultant. I have so many questions about some of these things. An executive Zoom producer. I hear it looks like he's spoken for TEDx. He's a speaker, MC, facilitator, and author. He's 100% about relationships. And today we're going to talk about a lot of things, I think. But I am excited to talk with him about his new book that he has just been launching recently, Small List, Big Results. And it's all about helping you stop struggling to find an audience. You will discover likely prospects from within your existing network who already know, like, and trust you. So now y'all see why I like Robbie. We're into some
totally
of the same
things.
Kind of
people, yeah.
We're the same kind of people. I know. Robbie, so is this your first book?
My second, actually.
I know, it's so exciting. I think the second one is just as exciting as the first. Do you agree?
Yeah, I had a moment of struggle trying to figure out what kind of launch party to have, because the first one really felt like a bar bat mitzvah sweet 16 kind of all rolled into one, and it was like I did a thing, and then the second time it was like a second baby shower.
Yeah.
In the end, I figured it out. I found a way to make it work. I got two amazing colleagues to co-MC, and they grilled me, and we took questions, and it was a lot of fun. But it was definitely a different kind of celebration because I knew I could do a thing. So while it was celebratory, it wasn't like, oh my God, oh, I did it,
Yes.
The second time you climb Mount Everest.
It is different, but it's still a beautiful thing. And when we're ready to put an additional message out into the world, it's definitely worth celebrating, I believe. So I want to welcome Susan Derima is here with us. Hi, Susan, great to see you. So Robbie, let's talk some about the book. Let's talk about, I think that's one thing that we all wonder about is our list. My list isn't big. I've not done good growing my list. And I loved some of your techniques that you talk about in the book. So first, how did the book come to be about? Why did you want to speak on this particular subject?
Well, when I wrote my first book, it was called Croissants versus Bagels, Strategic, Effective, and Inclusive Networking at Conferences. It was released in 2017. Big launch, 150 reviews in a week, same kind of thing. Really nailed that. I didn't have a clear next step. I knew I wanted to have some sort of online offer, coaching program, course. And my mentor's response was, you're going to learn a lot, which is not, an answer or advice. It was a prophecy, and she was right. And so I struggled my way through creating that first offer. And it was through working in subsequent iterations with this cohorts of women that I eventually stumbled upon who my ideal clients were, what their needs were. And this book was really written in 2018. Initially, I wrote like 20,000 words of it. This is the things that these people need to know. This is what we keep talking about over and over and over again. So it was very much co-created from the start. I workshopped it with lots of different people. I ran many master classes back then to get the content figured out. But I shelved the idea because I didn't have a next step figured out. And I was working on so many other things. And I thought, I'm not going to make this mistake again. If it's a book coming out, it's got to be tied to a next step. And after last year, I don't even know if you know this, but I basically reinvented myself and went from a business that didn't exist because I was focused on networking at conferences, and those.
Oh yeah, there was no networking at conferences. Yeah,
it didn't happen. Then suddenly, and I spent like a decade trying to get that, social proof and expertise. I was able to reinvent myself, and you heard some of the titles that I came up with.
Yeah, they're
And
great.
and then 8 months later, I had a 6-figure business that was thriving, and so much so that I moved this year and we bought a house and, you know, the American dream. So it was this time important for me to write the book, picking it up from 2018, because I needed to answer the question over and over again, Robbie, how did you do that? And the thing is,
Yes.
I follow the principles that I use when I have coaching clients. Like at the time that the 2020 was happening, I was coaching entrepreneurs on behalf of a company. So I was helping them through this process of, you know, oh my gosh, the pandemic just happened, disrupted all of our plans. So it kind of helped me stay the course and not get lost, because I was teaching them these things. And so I had to do it myself. So I treated myself like a client. It worked. The book is really the answer, not just to what I did, but how someone else reading the book could follow the same strategies and do it for themselves.
Yeah, so good. So good. So if you have a teaser about what's inside the book that would make business owners go, because we get it, it worked for you, and yeah, it's, but what would be the teaser that they would go, oh my gosh, yes, I want to try that? I bet you have a teaser.
The subtitle is launch a successful offer no matter the size of your email list. Entrepreneurs who have had trouble selling whatever they've created, they often think that the problem is the size of their email list. But what they're not understanding is that they created that offer without actually talking to any likely prospects. That they built it based on what they thought people needed, and then the market was like, "Who are you? What is this? Man, we don't need this." So the book is how do you build an audience before you put your offer out into the world, and how do you actually co-create it with people within your network who know, like, and trust you, so that they're the first ones to test the pilots. I had someone reach out to me on LinkedIn today, totally random. He reached out. I sent back a note like I always do. He sent back his pitch. Hey, I'm putting together a group for coaches, and we're gonna help people make money. And I was wondering if you wanted. I started running back. I was like, does this work? Because, you know, when you say putting together, I'm assuming that's a trial and it's a pilot, and I would assume people who want to do that, people who know you. Like, I don't know you. Like, I don't get this. Does this really work for you? And, you know, basically keyword searches is how he's doing his trial, and I think that's an uphill battle, and I would much more likely succeed by seeing who within my network might be a likely prospect or a referral partner.
So good. So good. So we have Dr. Vincent joining us, and he says, I was just talking about that right now. Like, does it work? Those messages, I'm always like, oh, guys, you know, and then they'll follow up a couple of days later with some question marks, like, to get my attention. I'm like,
someone's selling it. You know who's making money? The one-trick ponies. You know, the same reason that people who think they have a small email list then end up paying someone to create Facebook ads. To go to a landing page that doesn't convert because they're not getting paid. So, Terilee, you need one thing to have a business.
Tell me.
Paying client.
That's right. That's right. It's not hard, is it? It's not hard, is it?
We get so hung up on all the trappings of entrepreneurship and looking like I did it. I mean, I bought Thinkific in 2015 when I decided to go full-time into entrepreneurship. I didn't have it figured out what I was going to sell with it. Paid for it for 18 months. What? Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, we all just do these things. I have so many examples in my network and for myself, for my friends. Yeah. So the book is about how to sidestep all that and truly do minimally viable. Like, do it within what you know and who you know.
Do you know what I loved about it is that as I looked at it and saw some of the exercises you guide us through, I was like, there's been things I've been thinking about doing, and you just laid it out for me. And I was like, this is brilliant. And the way you laid it out, I'm like, I can totally do this. And so I'm here to tell you, if you haven't picked up the book yet, as someone who very much loves networking, loves building relationships, I was just like, this is such a wonderful offshoot, even to like the things I teach about networking. And so I'm a big fan, Robbie. So even before I met you, right? Mm-hmm.
Smalllistbigresults.com is how you can find the book, and also the resource of the Big Results Toolkit, which has workbooks to help you implement the strategies that are in the book. For instance, the Wake Up Your Network workbook, really walking you through all the steps to doing the process of how do you figure out who to reach out to, who are the people. So it's all very doable. One person said, "This is a very quick read that I'm going to spend the next 10 years working on."
Yes. I love it. It's
Like,
true. No, it's true. You can glide through it quick and say, hey, no, this is something I want to do. And I totally agree. I totally agree. Tell me, I know that your book launch has been in full swing, and I know that you had different things happening within this book launch. Is there anything still left? Any trainings?
yeah.
Any things? Yeah, tell us what's happening, because some people might be like, I got to get the book and I got to get in on this. So tell us what's still happening.
Well, first I'll just mention that most people who do book launches, they maybe ask some people, but then they don't do any follow-up. I've written reviews for over 50 books in the last few years. And most of those times I was asked once, and it was up to me to figure out how to keep track of that. And then often I don't. And then I feel bad about it. And I see notes written down on a piece of paper, and I can't remember what it was about, and what was the book, and what was the deadline. And really, it doesn't make me feel good in the end. I feel like, I struggled my way to finish that and like get it done, but not because I was like guided to it and supported to it. So the entire process of my book launch, my first one and my second one, was all about giving people the nurturing messages they need to help them take the action that I'm excited about. But I know that it's about me, right? It's my excitement. So I need to make it easy for them to follow through. And so the first part was they wrote the review and sent it to me via Google form. The first thing, actually, I will say is that they got the advanced copy on October 5th. And October 12th, there was a librarian-led book club discussion. And so it gave people a reason to look at the book that week instead of just putting it to the side. And if people didn't get a chance, they could still come and hear all the concepts. We basically opened the floor and invited people to share their reactions to different parts of the book, different questions. And a few days later, we asked people to submit their review via a Google form. And that generated a lot of reviews early on. And then I guided people through posting their reviews, so getting it actually onto Amazon. So we're at 154 reviews right now. The official launch day was October 31st. So, we had a few weeks to kind of build that, and we had over 100 reviews, I think 114 by launch day. And then we did do a book launch party with my co-MCs. And last weekend, I did the Big Results training, which was 6 hours of content from the book. And then that led to an offer. So this time I had it all planned out, Terilee. Yes. I didn't do it like it last time. Good. And so I have this year-long program called the Wake Up Your Network program that's coming out this coming year. And I, put it out there, and 2 people have firmly signed up, and I have 2 more who are likely signing up. And this is a 5-figure offer. This is not an inexpensive thing. So it feels really good. And then the people who didn't say yes, I built a pipeline. I'll probably create some other offer for them that will be, a step down, but give them still some movement forward towards their big goals, and help them get ready for this offer the next time I open it. So it's working. I basically, in a meta level, had to follow my own best practices in order to do the book and also to do the launch. And I felt like I want the launch almost to be the goal. Like, I want the feeling of how we all got together to be as much of the result as the actual outcome.
It's so good. What comes to me is every time I teach, every time I put something together, I feel like I always learn more when I'm the one putting it together. And truly, when you are writing a book like this, you have to walk your walk and talk your talk and do the things. And so it forces you to step up and step into that first, to be the one who helps bring everyone else along. So yeah, it sounds so fantastic. Is there anything else? I have a couple questions about your cool titles that you made. Is there anything else about the book? Let's do another call to action on the book. Anything else you want to share about the book, or anything else that's happening with your programs?
Well, I just think that the book is a really great place to start. And if you can get the book and the toolkit and take action all on your own, congratulations. That's awesome. You're not my ideal client. I'm still really happy for you to have the book. Mm-hmm. My ideal clients see all this and think, if left to my own devices, it's a good idea, but I won't get it done. Those are the people that are drawn to me psychographically. They know they are ready for more impact, more income. And I think people know, based on their own history and track record, what like left on their own looks like.
Yep.
So if you can do this in a small group and get some accountability and you can get some action, I think that's great. I do have some ways to kind of work with me in different aspects, but just stay in touch. I would love you to write a review, and smalllistbigresults.com. It hit number 4,202 in all Kindle for US Amazon, which was
Awesome.
astounding. It was number one in 8 categories, including 6 US, 2 Canadian, and 1 Australian. Number 1 new release in 5 categories, including women in business. So the launch itself went really, really well. And then I got to turn my attention to the training and now
Yep.
to the launch of the offer and all that good stuff. I mean, it's gone
Yep.
really well. So the last thing I would say about this is that I am actually doing sometime in December, we have to set the date. We're going to do a debrief meeting. It's going to be a debrief masterclass on the book launch process. And it's only open to people who are part of my launch team. So if you want to join the launch team and be invited to that, where I'm really going to break down what we did, how we did it, and how we would do it next time, it's going to be robbiesamuels.com/book launch. So that's really just you saying, yes, I would love to write a review and I'd love to learn more about how you did all these things. Because you could apply this to launching a podcast, a book, a program. I mean, I think it was just basic, good principles to follow about how do you build that audience before you shout from the rooftops about your offer.
Yeah, it's so good and so brilliant. Too often people just write the book and there's really no plan around it and what you'll do after, and everything you've modeled is stunning. All I think about is publishing that book and getting that one hurdle done, right? I did, like you said, I did it. There's so much more that can happen to catapult your business and to serve more people, to stand in your gifts and talents and really deliver and help other people do the same. So I appreciate that.
I want to thank you because you were this rare unicorn where you got introduced to me.
I've never been called a rare unicorn.
You really were, because you got introduced to me, you got on the launch team, and before I even had a chance to remind you about doing anything, the review was on Amazon. And it's memorable. It's memorable. I was like, wow, he's a person. See, I always say if you want to be liked, only say yes to the things you're going to do and then do them quickly.
I love that. No, do you know what it is? I'm a fellow author too, and I'm working on my next book, and I just know all I had to do was find out that weekend when they said, hey, his book is launching. I was like, I'll help you. I mean, I don't even know you. I don't even know the book, but it's like fellow authors totally appreciate. We have to, yes, we should support. We should appreciate. Yeah, so it's all good. It's all good. No, I'm so delighted to have this time with you. And so tell me, other than, okay, so these cool titles you have, are you still doing them? Like the virtual event design consultant and the executive Zoom producer stuff. Are you still doing those things?
Yeah.
Looking into 2020, tell us more about that.
Yeah, so essentially when the pandemic hit, March 12th, I wrote 9 Ways to Network in a Pandemic as my response to the question, how do I show up and add value? I was like, what do I do? Like all the things I'm known for, eye contact, business cards, shaking hands, body language. No one needs that right now.
No.
I then decided to try one of those. And so on a Thursday night, I decided to host a virtual happy hour, decided it was gonna be the next day, Friday at 5 Eastern, got a few friends to say they'd come, put the word out the next day, 20 people came, and I've hosted a virtual happy hour, which became the No More Bad Zoom virtual happy hour every Friday at 5 o'clock Eastern since. And while I don't charge for that particular event, it led to several new revenue streams, including a 4-week certification program for speakers and meeting professionals who wanted to become very adept at using Zoom and online facilitation and virtual event design. And then companies and organizations started to hire me to bring their events online with less stress and greater participant engagement. Because my lens, which I think you really would get, I believe that events are about content and connection. That when we got on the plane to go to an event, it wasn't just for content, it was for all the people and the possibilities. So we needed virtual events to also follow that same promise. And prior to the pandemic, they didn't. It was just like 45 minutes of death by PowerPoint followed by ineffectual Q&A and no one moderating chat, which was not a good model then. It definitely isn't now. So I was really focused on the engagement piece. It happens that I had to master Zoom technology to figure that out, but It was a byproduct. It was the reason for figuring this out was to figure out how to engage. And we were already in an epidemic around loneliness. So but prior to the pandemic, that was true. So we really do have a lot of craving of connection. So I'm still doing that. I have clients, national and statewide organizations here in the States that I work with. I tend to work with a lot of mission-driven organizations to help them bring those events online. And that, as we move into next year, one of my biggest clients is actually might bring me on site, which is funny because where I started. So I might do some things on site for them, as well as they're going to do some concurrent virtual pieces. So I might be like, running into a room to like manage the online thing, and then coming back and managing some in-person social, which is, to me, is super exciting. And I think where we're going to be going going forward in the future, we're going to see more and more of that.
I think so. I think that I say, and again, we didn't know each other, guys. So, so people who watch who know me will know that I was in the online networking space I've been in there for 3 years, Robbie. So I was there already when COVID hit. So yes, when things went down and when you were writing those 9 points, I was like helping teach people even how to get on Zoom. Like I was like, I'm going to show up every day and be here for people, because people didn't know. People didn't know what to do. And so I believe that at this time that, yes, having hybrid events where some people will be there in person and some will be online, I think it's the new norm. It's the new norm. We're definitely in a place in business networking in the history of the industry where people have more choice than they've ever had. I'm sure you agree, right? Some people are going to go right back to their face-to-face. Some people now have seen what's online and they're like, nope, this is for me. And there'll be some who do both. And so the options are many. I always say I'm looking for the people that are looking for me. There'll be people who come and take a look at what I have and say, this is my people. And there'll be those who don't, but I believe in plenty. And I believe that there's enough people like you and me and the rest of the people in our industry to serve everyone well.
Brilliantly said.
So if we had to do anything just to tie this awesome conversation up in closing, is there anything for the good of the order you would like to share?
Well, I want people to think about their online events for a moment and realize that they shouldn't be replicating what they did in person. Because there are constraints to in-person, not ones that we thought about a lot, but there's a constraint. If we have to all be in one place to meet, then we're going to end up, I've been to conferences with 42 concurrent sessions, and no one's going to tell me that's a good thing, right? No. That's just what has to happen. And no one says, what is this? It's outrageous. They go, oh yeah, we all flew here, so of course it's going to be 42. Of course it has to be 3 days in a row. See, online, it doesn't have to be 3 days in a row, 42 sessions concurrently. It could be anything you can imagine. And I think we should be reimagining that based on the outcome, like purpose first design. What are you trying to achieve? Getting clarity about that with you and your team, and then designing using a mixture of lots of different digital tools and analog tools. I think that there's some interesting things when we get people to sit quietly and write something like with a pen. And then have them come back and talk about it. Like we can mix together all these different tools, but it should be to serve the outcome, the purpose, not just using something because we just learned how to use it. So don't just be flashy for flashy's sake. But I think that some of the things that we do online, we actually can't do in person very well. But it works so well, like breakout rooms. In person, it's a real drag on a workshop to try to find triads. Okay, get in groups of 3. Why are the 3 people not with the group nowhere near each other? You're like, turn your chair. Wait, find a new part. And like you can do all that with a couple of buttons. And if you know how to use the technology, it's incredibly smooth. So I've learned all the technology in order to be able to reimagine and play with it and have so much fun with it. But I think people should be less scared of the virtual space and more thinking about it as a new playground. And there is just some things that are just so much more efficient and more engaging. And it sounds so funny to say that because before webinars were the opposite of engaging. But the things that I'm doing are very much rooted in community building. And I've seen some wonderful evidence from me and a couple of my colleagues doing some great things as well. So have some fun with it and don't just take what you did in person and try to bring it online. You're going to be missing out.
Such good words. Well, I've enjoyed. Guess what? I still like you. Good news. Yay! I still like you. Looking forward to having more time with you and building our relationship as we move forward to serve more business owners and see and explore ways that we can come alongside each other. Right. I think it's fantastic when we can all help each other in big ways. So Robbie, I want to thank you for your time. Thank you for everyone who has been watching live, watching the replay. I see someone, Chris Hamilton, signed up for the launch team while we right while we were chatting. So thank you to Chris. Thank you so much. And as always, everyone at Let's Talk Networking, let's cheer each other on and help each other grow. We'll see you next time. Thanks, Robbie.